What is the connection between prayer and the power of silence? Often when we think about prayer as us saying things to God. And that is a very important part of prayer. At the same time, there is also space for solitude. There is also space for silence. That's why when we see the Gospels, we often see Jesus leaving the noise of the crowd and going back into a space of silence and solitude for prayer. So what is the connection between prayer and the power of silence? Robert Cardinal Sarah is a bishop. He says, silence is difficult. It makes man able to allow himself to be led by God. Silence is difficult, but it makes man able to allow himself to be led by God. So what is he saying here? What he's saying here is that silence is a difficult thing to have. When we live in the modern world, there is so much noise. But if we want to hear from God, if we want to hear God's voice, it is important for us to cut out that noise from the world and have this internal sense of silence. Silence is important for us to hear from God, but silence is also difficult. Why? Silence is difficult because it is easy for us to look for noise as a way of distraction from the pain of the world. In the video that I did before, I talked about how we often have this temptation to look at our phone as a way of trying to seek distraction from our own pain. I'm going to put a link for that video down in the description or up here somewhere, or maybe up here somewhere. So if you want to know the connection between prayer, pain, and our need for distraction, please watch that video, because that will be important for you to know why silence in the modern world is a very difficult thing to have, and why if we don't have silence, we are liable to look for relief for our pain by seeking distractions in other places. Robert Cardinal Sarah talks about a way to develop the sense of silence. He says, the silence of night is most capable of crushing all dictatorships of noise. So what he's saying is, when we go through the day, nights are a time of silence, where all the chores of the day is done, and you get to a space of being able to pause. And he's saying the silence of the night is capable of crushing the dictatorship of noise. So that provides an opportunity for us to create that space of silence, to pray and to listen to God in prayer. We see David in the Psalms talk about this. In Psalm 77:2, David says, when I was in distress, I sought the Lord at night. I stretched out untiring hands, and I would not be comforted. See, again, David is talking about seeking God at night, creating that space of silence for us to listen to God in our pain. In different monasteries, they have this practice called the vigil. And vigil was a time of prayer that happened at the night, where monks would switch off all the lights and just light a small candle and just be there and meditate on God's word. Listen to God in the space of silence. So this way of listening to God in the space of silence helped them to get away from the dictatorship of noise and listen to God's voice for them. And that is why silence is a very important spiritual discipline we need to practice if we want to hear more from God. And that is why silence is a very important discipline for us to practice if we want to hear from God. Next time, as a practice, before you go to sleep, switch off the TV, switch off your phone, and just spend some time in silence, not listening to anything, just being there. Just set your intention to listen from God and just be there. And if you want, you could read 1 or 2 verses from the Bible and use that as a way of centering in that space of silence if you find yourself getting distracted too much. So practice this and see how this is able to help you to hear from God better. So if you like this video, please hit and subscribe to my channel. And if there is any other topic that you want me to cover, or if there is any other question that you have, please post them on the comments. I want to hear from you, and I'll do some videos based on the comments that you post. So until I see you in another video, bye for now.